Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today is another opportunity to do a reel in a bag, well, a reel in several bags project. It's in the Ambassadeur line. I've tried to read the inscriptions here. They're kind of worn off, but it looks like a Cardinal Rocket, if that's possible. But the setup is very much Ambassadeur, and I guess it's just another flavor of it. This one was made in Sweden. And I've got a whole bunch of pieces and parts here to restore the reel. So if you find yourself in a situation like this, I know sometimes you'll see on eBay or you'll see in various places opportunities to purchase reels that folks have given up on along the way. And this will provide you with some insight into how to go repair those reels or how to reassemble those reels, and how to make sure that they're complete and working. So we're going to start. There's a couple of pieces left on this frame here. You just want to make sure that you've got them all. And I'm kind of doing this by memory, but I would tell you that if you don't have a good memory or you're not familiar with working on these reels, then a good place to start is by going to get the schematic for the reel. Now this very much is an Ambassadeur bridge plate, and I think it's in the C3 line. There's been a couple of iterations of the Ambassadors over time, and I am not a student to tell you exactly which ones are which, but I can certainly tell you how to go about servicing this reel and making it work again. So I've just cleaned off. There was some dried grease on there. It was a good thing we took that off. This is a swing arm. This belongs on the post over here. Next up then is the one that it swings to. That's the trip lever. There's a little bit of grease on there, so we'll take care to get that grease off as well. So most of the time this is about tuning up reels, about repairing reels. Sometimes it's about helping people recover from a false start in terms of them doing their reel repair, and that's okay. If you find yourself in a situation like this, best thing, go to the schematic first. And if you're the one that caused the problem, well, a word of advice for the future: take pictures along the way. That way, if you do get stuck on the reassembly of the reel, you can go back and reference your pictures. So I just checked the gear. The gear is in good condition. I'm using some fishing reel grease now. I use Penn Precision reel grease. I'll show you it in a moment. But I use that to grease the gearing. This is the Penn Precision reel grease. It's available online. A lot of folks have it. I happen to use Mystic Reel Parts and for them, and I like this because it comes in a 1-pound tub. But of course, if you're just doing 1 or 2 reels, you don't need a pound of grease. That's a lifetime supply. You can certainly get away with just using a 2-ounce container or the like. Okay, we've greased this up. When you're looking at a yoke, let's say you had that gear out, there's 2 slants or ramps. Those go to the back. That's what's going to be pushed up by the jack assembly here. So I'm going to put that on first. Now I'm going to just drop oil. I don't like the grease on the this part of the assembly, because if it gets dirty, it's going to clog the assembly. All right, this is our tensioner. There's 2 posts that rides over, and the springs go on top of that the yoke assembly. So just line your posts up, and then we pretty much will have restored this to the way we found it when we just came here. And just press down. I had a little tag on the wrong side there. Now we're back. Okay, so this is your click release mechanism. It's going to push the yoke back up. When it comes down, it'll come down this way to load. Then the gear is going to push it back up this way. All right, we have 2 side plates here. We're going to leave them off to the side for a moment. Let's grab the frame. First thing we want to check is the back side of this. This has got a new idler, almost It seems like this whole thing is new. It's got the idler gear. We can use oil or grease where the spool is going to anchor, so let's go ahead and put a little bit in there. You don't need to grease the Teflon gear. That's because it's a petroleum product, and the petroleum products don't require grease. Line your side plate holes up. If you're curious about how that works, this is normally perpendicular to or parallel to the reel seat, and I think these holes are probably offset enough that doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to put it in any other way, but just as an eyeball kind of a thing. We've got a bag of a whole bunch of screws here. We're going to hope that in these screws that we have the 4 side plate screws. It looks like we do. There's 3. I said 4. There's 4 posts. One of them is a dead end post. These look like the 3 that belong there, so let's give that a try. And while we're doing this, if you like to work on fishing reels, if you enjoy this as a hobby, if you just want to see how reels are made, then I would ask you to subscribe to my channel. My channel will show you all types of fishing reels. It's basically whatever comes into my shop for service. This one came in from North Carolina by mail, and you'll get to look over my shoulder as I do this, and you'll get to learn a little bit about the fishing reels themselves as I work on them and kind of figure it out. And if that's helpful in terms of helping you to progress your skills in reel repair, but it's also helpful if you're maybe deciding to buy a reel, or understanding if that's the type of reel that you would use, and so on. All right, the back is on. Grease the inside. Let's go grab that spool. I notice we got some pieces and parts in some different places. That's okay. Let's see if there's a bearing hiding underneath here. Yep, there's a bearing underneath here, so you want to oil that. This is on the non-gear side of the spool. It just simply pulls out. Go ahead and snap that back in. And we have our spool shaft. You can put a little bit of grease on this. I said I've got pieces in different bags here, so it's kind of an interesting array. That comes through. And then when you go to load the spool on now, you want to make sure that these brakes are pushed in, because if they don't push in, they're going to get caught on the race of the gear side plate. And if you get caught on that race, then it's going to get tripped up. All right, now we can put that back in. Make sure that loads in. And I'll show you the race I was referring to. This is the race. If those brakes are out too far, this is going to press down and you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to pinch them in so that when you go to load, it's inside of here. Okay, we put a little bit of grease onto the spool shaft. That side is done now. Now I'm going to look for the little copper washer, or brass washer, or whatever kind of washer that may be. That goes next. It goes onto the post here. Now we can get our main gear assembly. Now this main gear assembly does not have the older version of the anti-reverse that has a fork on it. This reel has a roller clutch assembly, so that's not a problem. We're just going to pull this off now, just to make sure that we're loaded and we're clean on this assembly, because probably the original manufacturer's grease there. I'll put a little bit of grease onto the bridge post. Let's go ahead and put that in now. That's your trip lever. So as this comes down to load, this little lever here is going to hook in to one of these cavities in the ratchet, and that ratchet's going to throw it back. This has got a different, slightly different drive on it, so I can't show you the press down at the moment. There's a washer that goes behind the main gear. Right now it's raining plastic bags in here as I take these pieces and parts off. And we're just going to look. These are kind of the standard Abu drag washers in here. I just want to pop them up, make sure. These are oiled, and that's fine. And while you do that, check all the teeth on the main gear to make sure that they're in good condition. These are. Again, use some fishing wheel grease to lubricate the teeth. Now we've already done the one up on the pinion gear, so the main gear is the second one to do. Go ahead and load that in. You don't have to get grease on every tooth, but you want to grease them. There's 2 rounds and there's an eared washer. This is called a keyed washer. The keyed washers go high and low, and the eared washer, the one with the 2 studs coming out of the sides, that's the middle washer. Go to the top, you'll get the bell washer. Now this one goes up top. It's a bell washer. It has a rise on the side of it, or an indentation on the bottom of it. That's the only place that one can go. All right, next up then, I believe I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 tension washers on. And then we'll put the collar on. So if you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, and you'd like to know some more, please leave it in the comments section, and I will be happy to provide you the answers to your questions if I know them. And if I don't know them, I'll try to direct you to where you can find that information. All right, there's a clutch in here. It's a roller bearing clutch. You don't do anything with that. You simply load this on. Now I just had a viewer just into this morning's comment section give a good tip. They said if you have trouble lining these up, go ahead and stick a broken piece of a toothpick, one on each side, and as you come over the top, let those toothpicks guide that case down. And I kind of like that, so I'm passing that along to you. All right, that's what I'm finding out there, which I think I already know, is that these 2 tension washers belong on the top, not the bottom. So let's go ahead and put that back on. That's better. Okay, there's 2 more screws here that belong in those posts. Let's go ahead and do that. It's funny with these reels, some of them have those adjusters on the bottom, some of them have them on the top. Regardless, we've got them in the right place. All right, let's make sure that goes down there. 1 more of those post screws. So I didn't get the backstory on this. I don't know why it's all in pieces. I don't know if this was an attempt to kind of try and service the reel and then get something get stuck up along the way, but Mark did send them in to me. I'll have to go back and take a little bit of a note there. All right, these are bell washers or tension washers. There's a couple of different things. They're not flat washers. They are on a curve or concave. Or those set the tension for the star adjuster. And your star adjuster can work a little bit more hard or a little bit easier depending on how you set them in. Oops, before we do that, I want to mount this side plate to the reel. Remember what I said before, push those brakes in, center up. In this case, you want to line those screws with the screws that are coming out of the case. Oops, that was an oops. When you go to line this up, the biggest issue you have with these reels is getting this trip lever in the right position. So the right position here is going to be with that inset there. You need to make sure this prong goes in this inset. And an easy way to do that sometimes is to just plain push down on that. But you want to come in and make a visible on that, just like that. And you'll see the case just is going to close. If you didn't do it right, the case is not going to close properly. I noticed one of those little cap washers, tension washers, star adjuster washers, whatever we want to call those, just came out, so it's not a hard deal. I put these face to face. I let the bellies kind of be the expansion point there. Now we'll go put this on. We'll make sure you're going in square when you start turning this. If you don't go in square, you're going to strip the threads of this. Sometimes you need to grab that center post as you turn. And then you can use the handle once you've cleared. You can use that handle to turn this the rest of the way. I notice I didn't put that little cap on. We can do that now. Inside the cap, there's a little plastic piece. You can see it here. It's got raised sides on it. The raised sides point inward. They're going to control that tension on the spool. So let's go ahead and put that on right now. Then we can go back to doing what we were just doing here. Tighten down your star adjuster. Then you have a little washer that's going to go between the star adjuster and the handle. Then our handle's going to go on. Now you have a E-clip that's going to hold the main gear to the shaft. And you can't put that on until last. So if you put it on earlier, you're going to have trouble mounting the handle onto the reel. All right, that's on. Now we can use our 10mm nut. Same thing here. You need to make sure you're going on square. If it's not going on square, you risk that cross-threading. And then when you go to set the cap lock here, if this is perpendicular to the hole, then you should be able to get your cap on. And then we have one more screw, and I'm going to congratulate Mark. All the pieces and parts were here. So it was kind of interesting because they came in about 5 different bags, and it did cause a little bit of concern there, but overall, this reel should go. So here, let's give it a try. There's a nice smooth operation there. More importantly, does our release work? It certainly does. And does our trip come back? Well, it's done what it's supposed to do. I'm going to bring this over to the side now, because the one piece I did not lubricate in all of this was the pawl. And if you're going to do the service, you might as well do the service completely. I know Mark had asked me to put the reel back together again, but it's more than just that. Let's make sure that it's ready to go fishing and that you don't have to worry because, well, we just put the handle on and we didn't service the reel. There's a pawl hanging here. I'm just going to check that. The pawl has 2 teeth, and it's a good thing I checked it. Look at, we got a lot of dirt on that pawl, and that's something that you want to clean off. What happens is that worm track at a worm gear gets a lot of grease and dirt and stuff in it. And if you don't clear that out, eventually it's going to start skipping as you go to reel in your line. And it'll get stuck on the side, and eventually, if it becomes too dramatic, it's going to break off one of the teeth or wear one of the teeth kind of the wrong way. Now you'll notice that's a far way out of the cap. Put your finger on it and turn it, and that will bring it in. I'm going to oil the worm gear. I don't put grease on the worm gear. I put oil specifically for the reason that you just saw here, that grease tends to jam that pawl. And if you're in a salt environment with these reels, what happens is the micro sands and the salt that dries from the salt water kind of gets trapped there. Just take a moment to seat this up, and we'll give it a final test. So if you have a reel that needs a service and you're not up for doing it yourself, well, send me an email, and I'll be happy to give you the details of the service. Use the email on the business card that follows, and that'll help you learn about where to send the reels and the like. All right, there you go. This is it. This is I believe it says a Cardinal Rocket, a CL maybe 1000. I don't know. It's kind of worn off here. And it's worn off on this side. I can just make out Cardinal over here. Regardless, it's an Ambassador. You can call it whatever they want to call it. It's an Ambassador. And this one's ready to go fishing again. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it. If you're a first responder, thank you for your services, for everything it is that you do. If you're essential personnel, the same. I do really appreciate all of the efforts that you've put into keeping us safe during this pandemic. And I need to thank you each and every time I do a video. So please, everybody, stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.